Now and again, a transfer rumour comes along that you really want to be true because you're such a big fan of the players being linked to your club. And that's very much the case here for me, as Matt O'Reilly, the Celtic midfielder, is once again being linked to West Ham United. Now first, let me start off by saying I do not believe this transfer rumour. However, I'm going to discuss it hypothetically because we're a fan channel and not a news organisation. Plus, I would absolutely love to see O'Reilly at West Ham next season. It's a player I know quite a bit about and I'm quite looking forward to discussing it. Now, the three reasons that I do not believe the transfer rumour. Number one, we've been linked to him for over a month now. Occasionally throughout that 6 weeks period, there's been reports that West Ham are interested in O'Reilly. So it's a consistent rumour. However, it just feels like it's lacking credibility and momentum. So I haven't paid too much attention to it. And I'm certainly not getting my hopes up. Number two is the price tag. He will cost at least 25 million, I think, to get him out of Celtic. It might be closer to 30. And there is a possibility a bidding war is a way to occur for O'Reilly. But that's why I'm doing the video today. West Ham have to move now if they want him. But moving on to number three, and this is why I don't think we want him yet. I just don't think a central midfielder is a priority for Jaden and Lopetegui right now. I think they're focusing their attention and money into getting a striker and a right back, which, by the way, I agree with. I think those should be the priority positions. Maybe towards the end of the transfer window, if there's a bit of money left over, or we've sold a couple of players, including Flynn Downs, then perhaps we will make a move for a central midfielder. I just think if you want Matt O'Reilly, if West Ham want Matt O'Reilly, you have to go now, otherwise they're going to miss out. Because, and the reason for the timing of this video is Atalanta have made their bid. O'Reilly's been linked to various different clubs over the summer, Premier League ones included, like Leicester City, Southampton, because of the obvious links with Russell Martin, Spurs, ourselves. Back in January, Atletico Madrid made a bid for him. It was believed to be around 20 million or a loan with an option to buy. Celtic said no chance, he's not going in the winter window. Do one. So they did, although they're still monitoring the situation. But Atalanta have been the first club to make a move and they've launched a formal bid today, which is going to put a bit of pressure on other clubs should they genuinely be interested in Matt O'Reilly. So that's the reasons I don't believe it, but I hope we are. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I would love him at West Ham. I know quite a bit about him. He's a left-footed, I would call him an attacking centre midfielder, because when he came through the academy at Fulham, which makes him homegrown, he spent enough time at Fulham and then MK Dons, so while he will represent Denmark, he is homegrown, so it ticks that box as well. Just 23 years old as well, so it's a fantastic profile of player. Not small, physically fine, quite quick as well. There's a lot to like about him. But when O'Reilly was at Fulham and he was coming through the academy, they played him in various different positions. The number 6 role, the number 8 role, the number 10 role. And the reason they did that is because they wanted to develop his game, expand his game and encourage him to use his body a little bit more, learn different techniques. So they really put a lot of time and effort into him at the Fulham Academy. I think they were quite excited by him as well and they offered him a contract. However, he rejected it because he wanted first team football. He ended up being without a club for 6 months and then he went to MK Dons and was under Russell Martin, the now Southampton manager, and he tried to sign him again at Swansea, but he was at MK Dons with Russell Martin, who felt that basically they had a player too good for the league and they thought he was absolutely fantastic. Then he got his move to Celtic for just under a couple of million to go to play under Ange Postecoglou, hence the Spurs interest. There's a pattern emerging here. The only one I can't find a link between is Lopetegui and Matt O'Reilly, but he went to Celtic. And the thing that Celtic were attracted to O'Reilly by was his through ball data. He was basically a data selection for Celtic, and I think the success of his through ball data in particular was one that caught the eye of the Glasgow Giants, and they obviously did more scouting. They decided that that's the player they want. They took him up, and he had to be patient to get into Postecoglou's team, and he's played a little bit deeper under Ange Postecoglou. The shackles have very much been off under Brendan Rodgers, and they've definitely benefited from the results of that. However, I think the development at Celtic, he's come on leaps and bounds. The midfielder that arrived at Celtic compared to the midfielder that will be leaving is significantly different. And that's a pivotal age. Your early 20s, I think, as a footballer can be quite crucial. But I really do feel like he's developed a lot at Celtic. And there's still elements of his game that need improving. Brendan Rodgers has spoken about how he needs to improve the pressing element of his game. But statistically, the defensive side of his game is very strong. His attacking side of the game is tremendous. And I know people are going to... I already know there's going to be comments going, yeah, but Celtic, it's the Scottish Premiership. What do you expect? The data is superb, but 37 goals and assists last season. Just last season on its own. 19 goals, 18 assists and across all competitions. That included contributions. It was just assists. There was no goals, but there was a handful of assists in the Champions League as well. So it wasn't just the Scottish Premiership he was doing it. But 37 goals and assists from a midfielder is incredible. Regardless of what league you're in, I think that is absolutely fantastic. And I know people will downplay the fact that he's coming from the Scottish Premiership, and I don't get excited. The long-term subscribers of the channel will hopefully back me up a little bit here. I don't get too excited about players coming out of Scotland. The last two that I did was Lewis Ferguson and Calvin Bassey. Now, there was Nathan Patterson, who hasn't gone on and done it yet, but I have hope for Nathan Patterson. But certainly Bassey and Ferguson, prior to that, Hickey, but that was more because of what he was doing in Italy, although he came from Scotland. But Bassey and Ferguson, I would argue, have gone on to almost prove me correct to some extent, if I don't mind saying so. And then there's the players before them, likes of John McGinn, Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson. There have been fantastic success stories of players that have come out of Scotland and gone into England and succeeded. And there's even those who have done well, perhaps not to the heights of Virgil van Dijk, like Stuart Armstrong, for example. So I think you can't just dismiss anybody from Celtic or Rangers or Aberdeen because they're from the Scottish Premiership. Matt O'Reilly is a superb player, and he looked good at MK Dons, and I think there's a lot of attention on him when he was there as well. Dortmund were very much monitoring his situation prior to his move to Celtic. There's been a lot of big clubs interested in him, but the gap between leaving Fulham and going to MK Dons, I think, shows that he's quite a confident player. He's a confident person. He's got belief in himself, and he wants to forge his own career path and one that's right for him. The move, he won't go to anyone. When he leaves Celtic, he's not just going to join the highest bidders or whoever's offering him the most money. He will pick what he feels is the best club for him to go to and progress, because he just missed out on the Denmark squad for the Euros. And imagine he was a bit disappointed, and he should be. I felt like he deserved to be in that final cut, but he didn't make it. That must be his next ambition, to get into the Danish squad. So where is he going to go to achieve that? And I think a Premier League team is the answer. Maybe Atalanta. I don't know enough about Italian football in order to comment. Maybe that is his best destination, but I think we'll see him in the Premier League if a club makes their move and they can get something agreed with Celtic. And I would just love it to be West Ham. I think he would fit exactly with how we feel Lopetegui is going to play. And these are now quotes coming from players like Mohamed Kudus and Max Kilman, that Lopetegui wants to play attacking football, possession-based football. Lopetegui himself has spoken about how he wants to be more attacking. However, we will also have to play counter-attacking football at times. O'Reilly ticks all the boxes. I hate using the word perfect, and I don't use it too often, but I do think he could be the perfect midfielder for West Ham United in terms of the profile, his ability, his potential. And yes, he's expensive, but if you look at his experience, and I appreciate I'm way to compare him to a striker here, but if you look at his experience and compare him to Duran's, one's got loads of it on his CV, Champions League football, whereas the other one has had a handful of appearances in Premier League. Now, I like Duran, you know this, I like Duran, but I just think for a similar price tag, well, O'Reilly would be less. I think you're getting a lot more for your money. I think there's very little risk attached to this. Plus, like I said, homegrown, so it's quite pivotal. And yes, we are looking after our homegrown quota with some clever signings like Wes Fodringham. But you're going to need one or two substantial investments where actually, like Kilman, like O'Reilly would be, that's our homegrown player, for the next 6-7 years, and his ambitions might outweigh West Ham's, O'Reilly's. Maybe he will be good enough to go on and play for a Champions League club, but there's a step in the middle. He's not there yet. He's not good enough yet. Well, if he goes to an Italian club in the Champions League, he's good enough. But in terms of the English clubs, he's not good enough for a Man City or anything like that yet. But he could be. I think he's got at least one move in prior. West Ham would absolutely love him to come here. Celtic fans will be watching this, getting angry with me, saying he's not going to West Ham and he's worth more than that. Rangers fans said similar about Callum Bassey. He went for the price tag I suggested, and granted he went to Ajax, he ended up at Fulham. I think O'Reilly would be good for West Ham, and I think West Ham would be good for O'Reilly. So while I don't believe the transfer rumour, I hope it's true. This guy will give you goals, he will give you assists. He's incredibly creative. He can do it in all sorts of shapes and sizes, whether it's a through ball, whether it's ball over the top, whether it's the crossing. He can play in and around the 18-yarder as well as inside it. I love him. I love O'Reilly, and I'd love him at Claret and Blue. Anyway, shall we move on? Before we do, just one point in direction of this video sponsors, Manscaped. While we're talking about improving West Ham, Manscaped are helping you improve you. But 30 million for O'Reilly's expensive. It's not much of a deal. Well, we've got a good deal for you at Manscaped because they're giving you 20% off everything. That includes the Lawnmower 5, which helps you get rid of any unwanted hairs downstairs. But not only that, they've got the lotion such as the Crop Preserver to help maintain the downstairs. So you use this, then use this. This makes you look good, this makes you feel good. It's a winning combination. So when you head over to Manscaped, put whatever you want in your basket, and when you use the code HammersChatPubes, yes, that is the code HammersChatPubes, you won't forget it, we needed something catchy. HammersChatPubes, you get 20% off everything plus free shipping worldwide. So we might not get O'Reilly, but you can have a good looking Willie. Moving on then to the next transfer rumours. I'm going to fly through these, so we'll keep it a little bit short and sweet at the end, but it's just an update on all the players that we have been linked to. So with Jhon Duran, who is the Aston Villa striker that we made a bid for, and yet we've not had an update as to whether it's been accepted or not. The hold up, it's been called a hold up. I don't think it is. I think it's a period of waiting. I guess that is a hold up. A hold up to me sounds like there's a problem, doesn't it? Waiting for a response. Anyway, the hold up is the fact that he's at Copa America. Colombia beat Uruguay. Did you see that footage, by the way, of Nunez and a couple of other Uruguayan players in the crowd? Don't really blame him, to be honest with you. If the reports are true that Colombian fans were attacking the Uruguayan family, don't really blame him for getting involved. I tried to stay up to watch the game. I made it to about 1 AM and nodded off, so I failed in that aspect, but I intended on watching the game. Anyway, Duran's obviously still at Copa America. The final is on Monday. His focus is on Copa America, and until that's come to an end, he ain't bothered. He's not interested in sorting his future. Good, I like that, right? Questions about his attitude, fair. I've done it myself. But that attitude, I like it. Prioritise focusing on the Copa America. It's a few days, it's not the end of the world. Plus he's got an agent. Bit of a iffy agent as well. It's caused a little bit of bother for him. But he's got an agent to deal with all this kind of thing. So I don't think we're going to hear an answer on Duran until early next week. But once the Copa America is resolved, hopefully this deal can get moving. But it sounds quite promising. I feel quite confident in it, unlike the O'Reilly one. Next up is Fofana of Chelsea, not the £80 million defender they signed for Leicester, the one that scored an absolute screamer against us last season for Burnley, the striker, that one. We're being linked to him for 13 million, which is quite cheap, roughly what Chelsea paid. I'd be surprised if he went for that little. Not enough evidence, I would suggest, for Fofana. Obviously, he joined Chelsea, went to Union Berlin. I've seen him once or twice in the Bundesliga. Didn't look very good. But then again, neither did Union Berlin. They had a bad season. It was a relegation battling season for them, that he was there for the first half of the season. Then he went to Burnley in January transfer window, and I thought he looked good at Burnley, truth be told. There's a few games I watched where it felt like there was very little Premier League ability on show in the Burnley shirt, but I thought he was the one displaying it, him and Odobert, who might be on the wish list as well. That's why I wanted to discuss O'Reilly, because if I did a wish list for the summer, O'Reilly would be on it. I think Odegaard would be one of my curveballs, perhaps, if we could get him out of Burnley, because a couple of people have suggested do a wish list video. Maybe I'll do it with Gonzo next week for a bit of fun. Like I said, 2 people have suggested it, but that's enough for us here at Hammers Chat. We're not fussy. We're like the last woman on the dance floor on a Saturday night. Just seeing what's available, you know. Moving on from Fofana, so we're linked to Fofana. I'm not against it. I think as long as it's like, if we had European football, I've been saying yes, let's go for it. We've got enough football, but we don't. So for that, I feel like it's sort of a new striker, Antonio. Well, Ings is sticking around for now anyway, but I think Fofana's almost too good to play second fiddle to Duran and Antonio, but not quite good enough to displace either of them yet. I'm going to monitor that transfer rumour. Not sure I believe it. Moving on to right backs, Walker Peters has been held up. Interestingly though, Southampton have signed Walker Peters' replacement. Now, that would have been a good signing for us. I didn't realise he was going to Southampton for a handful of million, but off he's gone. Contract situation. But I think it puts a little bit of pressure on Southampton to now sell Walker Peters. Maybe they're happy to keep him and let his contract run out, but they've already got his replacement at the club. That may just change the landscape a little bit for Walker Peters. I feel, like I said, I'm guessing, and I felt like this for the last week now, that they're still trying to get Downs, and we're not keen to have Downs as part of the equation. Or maybe Downs doesn't want to go to Southampton. So it feels like we're trying to go for a straight cash deal to sign him, and Southampton ain't playing ball. The alternative is Wan-Bissaka, although we've not bid yet. But the person, Sam, who said we were going to bid, like I've said on the forum video with Nick and Mark, the journalist is very credible when it comes to Man United news. But how would he know from a Man U source that West Ham are intending on bidding? I guess Wan-Bissaka's agent, perhaps. They always do their little chit-chat, don't they? So, again, to monitor. Todibo is off unless we can sell Nathan Gerd. No surprise there. Again, right thing to do. And then lastly, we're going to round it up with Philogene, who is the Hull City winger. Now, a couple of weeks ago, ex-West Ham employee suggested this was our sort of main transfer target for that left wing / left attacking midfield position. I like it. I like him. I think he's a good player. I really would have liked to have seen us go and get him. But it does feel like we ain't entering the running for him. Everton have had a bid accepted. Ipswich have had a bid accepted. And Aston Villa have a clause. They sold him to Hull City. They have a clause that if Hull City accept a bid, Aston Villa just have to match it, and it automatically gets accepted. So Aston Villa have done that. But the interesting thing is that Aston Villa have a sell-on clause as well. So they're going to match what Ipswich and Everton are offering. It automatically gets accepted. Pay Hull. And I think the sell-on clause is 30%. So they'll get 30% of it back. So it's a bit of a bargain for Aston Villa. But you do wonder if they're actually wanting the player, or they're just going to buy him and then sell him again for a larger fee to someone like Everton or Ipswich. It's happened before. And Morata was the player, I think was it Juventus and Atletico Madrid? I can't remember which way around it was, but I think a club had an option to buy, but didn't want him, so they just bought him and sold him straight away for a significant profit, something like that. So I do wonder what Villa's play is here, because they're okay on that in that sort of area of the pitch. But apparently Aston Villa are going to respect Philogene's wishes, and if he doesn't want to go back, then they're not going to force him back. He's going to go somewhere else. My point is, those 3 clubs have bid. We ain't. Bit disappointing. Got my hopes up on this one a little bit, because I believe this transfer rumour, because X suggested it was our main target for that side. It might have been. Maybe we've decided not to go for it. Maybe it's a bit too expensive, or we're trying to get a striker done first. I'm unsure why we haven't entered the bidding for him, but I was hopeful we might do. Greaves looks like he's joined Ipswich. I can accept not going for him as much as I wanted him. I get it, because we've got 4 senior centre backs now. But with Philogene, don't know, bit disappointing. Anyway, there you go. That's your latest on the transfer rumours. Matt O'Reilly's been linked to West Ham. I just don't believe it, but absolutely love it. Please get involved in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on all things transfer window and transfer rumours at West Ham. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe to the Hammer Chat. Catch you tomorrow.